My best friend won Teacher of the Year using lesson plans I created while I was on medical leave. The auditorium erupts in applause as Corinne accepts the Teacher of the Year plaque, smiling under the stage lights while my own lesson slides flash behind her on the projector. I sit in the back row watching her hold up student essays analyzing Beloved through frameworks I spent 2 years developing. My name nowhere in the presentation packet she'd submitted to the district. The superintendent shakes her hand and calls her work a transformative approach to classic literature, and I watch parents stand to applaud while she beams like she invented empathy. She clicks to the next slide, my discussion protocol for The Handmaid's Tale, the one I'd piloted with last year's juniors before complications from gallbladder surgery kept me out for most of fall semester. The formatting is identical down to the color-coded participation rubric. She talks about creating brave spaces for difficult conversations, and I remember typing those exact words into the unit overview at 2 in the morning, fueled by cold coffee, and the belief that teaching literature meant teaching students to see themselves in the margins of every story. A parent in the third row raises her phone to record. Corinne thanks the administration for trusting her vision and supporting her through the challenge of implementing something this ambitious. My vision, my challenge. She'd walked into my classroom in September, opened my Google Drive folder labeled Social Justice Lit Unit, draft for feedback, and apparently decided feedback meant taking full credit. The principal presents her with an oversized check for $5,000 in professional development funding. Corinne holds it up for photos. Someone whistles. I think about the hours I spent aligning Their Eyes Were Watching God with modern discussions of voice and agency, the way I'd restructured the entire semester to let students trace power dynamics across centuries of American writing. I'd shared it with her in June, asked her to look it over and tell me if the scope felt too ambitious for high schoolers. She'd said it was brilliant. She'd said she wished she'd thought of it first. Turns out she just decided to pretend she had. The ceremony ends with a standing ovation. I stay seated. Corinne steps off the stage and gets swarmed by colleagues offering congratulations. I watch her hug the art teacher, accept a handshake from the athletic director, pose for another photo with the superintendent. No one looks at me. No one knows I exist in this narrative except as the person who happened to be gone when greatness occurred. She finds me near the exit as people filter toward the reception in the library. Her face lights up like we're old friends reuniting after a pleasant vacation. She pulls me into a hug that smells like her vanilla perfume and says, "I'm so glad you're back. I held down the fort." I step back. "You didn't mention the curriculum existed before you taught it." She laughs, light and dismissive. "Well, I did implement it, and I made some adjustments based on what worked with the students. You weren't here to be nominated anyway, so it would have been weird to bring you up during the acceptance speech." The casual rewrite of reality hits like a slap. I'd been recovering from surgical complications that left me unable to stand for more than 20 minutes without exhausting myself. I'd spent August and September in bed, October and November doing physical therapy, December finally regaining enough strength to think about returning to work. She'd spent that time turning my lesson plans into her professional highlight reel. "I shared those plans with you for feedback," I say, "not for you to claim them." She touches my arm, voice dropping to something meant to sound compassionate. "You've been through a lot. Maybe we can talk about this when you're feeling more settled." She walks away before I can respond, joining a cluster of administrators near the refreshment table. Someone hands her a cupcake. She laughs at something the assistant principal says. The plaque catches the light as she shifts it under her arm, my work reduced to a prop in her celebration. I leave through the side door and sit in my car, staring at the steering wheel. 8 months of recovery and I'd come back to find someone else wearing my career as a costume. The worst part is how easy it had been for her, how completely I'd trusted her, how thoroughly she'd erased me. The next morning I walk into the main office to check my mailbox and find a framed photo on the bulletin board. Corinne holding the oversized check, surrounded by smiling administrators. The caption reads, "Congratulations to our Teacher of the Year." 3 exclamation points. I stare at it until the secretary asks if I need something. "Just getting my mail," I say. My box contains 2 things. A welcome back card signed by the front office staff and a memo about updated parking assignments. Nothing about the curriculum I'd built. Nothing acknowledging I'd ever existed in that classroom before Corinne made it famous. I head to the English department office and find Bryn, who teaches sophomore lit making copies. She sees me and immediately smiles. "Wasn't last night amazing? Corinne's unit sounds incredible. I want to try something similar with To Kill a Mockingbird." "That unit is mine," I say. "I designed it 2 years ago." Bryn's smile falters. "Oh, she didn't mention that." "She didn't mention a lot of things." "Well, maybe you can collaborate on expanding it now that you're back." She grabs her copies and leaves before I can explain that collaboration requires both people knowing they're working together. In the teacher's lounge, I find a group clustered around Corinne's corner table. She's showing someone her phone, probably more photos from the ceremony. Laughter ripples through the group. I pour coffee and sit at the opposite end of the room. Nobody looks over. Nobody asks how I'm feeling or whether I'm ready to be back. The entire conversation revolves around Corinne's achievement and what it means for the school's reputation. Adrian, the history teacher, finally notices me. "Hey, welcome back. You must be so proud of Corinne for keeping your classes running smoothly." "She kept them running," I say. Not sure about smoothly. He doesn't catch the edge in my voice. The kids loved her. My advisees couldn't stop talking about the beloved discussions. Those were my discussions, my curriculum. Adrian looks confused, but she won Teacher of the Year for it. She won Teacher of the Year using it, I say. There's a difference. Corinne glances over, her expression unreadable. She stands and walks to the coffee station, positioning herself next to me like we're about to have a friendly chat. "Can we talk privately?" "We can talk right here." She lowers her voice anyway. "I understand you're upset, but you're making this awkward for everyone. I worked really hard while you were gone. I didn't just follow your plans. I adapted them, refined them, made them work for students who needed more scaffolding than you'd anticipated." "Scaffolding I'd built into the unit," I say. "The differentiation protocols were in the folder you copied. I added my own strategies." "Like what?" She hesitates. "Like the Socratic seminar model for The Handmaid's Tale. That was mine. I sent you the fishbowl diagram in July." "Well, I implemented it. That's called teaching, Corinne, not inventing." She steps back, voice shifting to something wounded. I thought you'd be happy someone kept your work alive while you were dealing with everything. I thought you'd appreciate that I didn't let it die. You didn't keep it alive? You wore it like a Halloween costume and collected a prize for best dressed? Her face hardens. You weren't here, I was. The kids needed someone who could actually show up. The words land exactly how she meant them to. Around us, the lounge has gone quiet. Adrian pretends to read a newspaper. Bryn studies her phone. Corinne walks back to her table, and within seconds, the conversation resumes like I'd never spoken. I spend first period reviewing the syllabus Corinne left behind. It's my syllabus verbatim, except she's changed the header to her name and updated the contact email. The assignment calendar matches the one I'd drafted. The reading list is identical. Even the late policy uses my exact phrasing about grace and accountability. She'd taught my class so thoroughly that students probably don't realize I'm a different person. During lunch, I check my school email and find a message from a parent named Mrs. Callahan. The subject line reads, "Thank you for an incredible semester." I open it. Ms. Corinne, I wanted to reach out and express how grateful we are for the work you've done with Sophie this year. She's never been excited about English class before, but your social justice unit completely changed her relationship with reading. She talks about the discussions at dinner and has started writing poetry on her own time. You've given her a gift, and we're so proud to have you as her teacher. Congratulations on the well-deserved recognition. The email is addressed to Corinne but sent to my school account. An administrative error, probably someone updating contact lists and forgetting to change the routing. I read it 3 times. Sophie Callahan had been in my class last spring when I'd piloted the "Their Eyes Were Watching God" section. She'd written an essay comparing Janie's voice to contemporary feminist poetry that made me believe I was doing something right. I'd written her a recommendation letter for a summer writing program. Now her mother thinks Corinne gave her that gift. No acknowledgement that the gratitude was for my work. No suggestion that she'd correct the parents' misunderstanding. Just a breezy dismissal of the fact that she'd become the face of something I'd built from scratch. By the end of the day, I've heard 4 separate people congratulate her in passing. I've been asked twice if I'm settling back in okay with a tone that suggests I'm fragile and temporary. The department head stops me in the hallway and says she's glad I'm recovered, but wants to make sure I'm not overextending myself by taking on too much too fast. I'm teaching my regular course load, I say. Of course, but Corinne set a high bar. Just want to make sure you're ready for that standard. I watch her walk away and realize Corinne hasn't just stolen credit. She's reset expectations so that anything I do now will be measured against my own work, rebranded as hers. I spend Tuesday night pulling up my Google Drive and sorting files by creation date. The Social Justice Literature Unit folder appears with a timestamp from 2 years ago. Every document inside it dated months before my medical leave. Lesson plans for Beloved. Discussion protocols for The Handmaid's Tale. The Socratic Seminar fishbowl diagram Corinne claimed as her own innovation. All of it created, revised, and finalized while she was still teaching freshman composition. I open the email archive next. There's a message from July, 2 years back, where I'd attached the full curriculum and written, "Would love your thoughts on this before I pilot it in the fall," trying to balance rigor with accessibility. Corinne had responded with 3 sentences praising the ambitious scope and suggesting I maybe add more scaffolding for struggling readers. I'd thanked her and added the differentiation protocols she now pretends she invented. Another email from last spring shows me sending her the updated unit after the first pilot semester. Subject line reading, Social Justice Lit Project, final version. I'd written that I was excited to keep refining it and wanted her input on pacing. She'd replied, "This is brilliant. You're going to change how kids see literature. Not we, not let's collaborate. Just acknowledgement that the work was mine." I screenshot everything. The timestamps, the email headers, the creation metadata. Then I open the shared drive where teachers store curriculum resources and find the folder Corinne uploaded during my leave. She'd labeled it Social Justice Literature Unit, C. Wallace. Inside are my lesson plans with her name in the header and minor formatting changes that don't alter a single learning objective. She'd copied my work, renamed it, and submitted it for an award as though she'd authored it from scratch. I download the entire folder and compare it line by line to my original files. 97% identical. The 3% difference consists of her changing fonts and adding a cover page with a quote from Toni Morrison that I'd included in my syllabus introduction. She hadn't even bothered to find her own epigraph. Wednesday morning, I visit the library and ask Ms. Kowalski if she has records of students checking out books for my class last year. She pulls up the circulation history and prints a list. 15 students checked out Beloved, 12 requested The Handmaid's Tale, 8 borrowed Their Eyes Were Watching God, all during the spring semester before my surgery, all for my sections. "This is for the Social Justice Unit, right?" Ms. Kowalski says. "Such a great project. Corinne did an amazing job with it this fall." "I created it," I say. "She taught it while I was on leave." Ms. Kowalski's face shifts. "Oh, I didn't realize." Most people don't. She prints a second copy of the circulation records without me asking. "If you need documentation, I can write a statement about when the unit started. I remember you talking about it during planning periods." I take the printout. "That might help." By Thursday, I've built a file thick enough to be undeniable. Emails, timestamps, circulation records, and a spreadsheet tracking every assignment in the unit back to its original creation date. I add screenshots of the Google Doc revision history showing my edits over 2 years and Corinne's single contribution during my leave, changing the teacher name on page 1. I also pull student work from last spring. Sophie Callahan's essay comparing Janie's voice to feminist poetry. Another student's analysis of power structures in Beloved. A third student's creative project reimagining The Handmaid's Tale in a modern dystopia. All of it graded by me, commented on by me, created in response to prompts I'd written. I scan the essays and add them to the file with notes about which students produced them and when. Then I draft an email to Principal Holloway requesting a meeting. I keep it brief. I need to discuss the Teacher of the Year nomination and award. I have documentation showing the curriculum submitted under Corinne Wallace's name was created by me prior to my medical leave. This is a matter of professional integrity and intellectual property. Please let me know your availability this week. I send it Thursday after school and get a response within an hour. Available tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Please bring any relevant materials. Friday morning, I arrive at Holloway's office with a folder and a flash drive. He's already at his desk, coffee in hand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I sit across from him and slide the folder forward. "This is everything," I say. Timestamps showing I created the social justice literature unit 2 years ago. Emails proving I shared it with Corinne for feedback, not collaboration. Student work from my class last spring showing the curriculum was operational before my leave. Circulation records from the library. Revision histories showing she contributed nothing except her name. Holloway opens the folder and starts reading. His expression doesn't change, but he flips through pages faster than I expect. When he reaches the email where I'd explicitly called it my social justice lit project, he pauses. Did Corinne know you created this? He asks. She was copied on every email. She saw the files. She knew. And she submitted the nomination as her own work. Entirely her own. No mention of me anywhere in the portfolio. Holloway closes the folder and leans back. This is a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, it's documentation. He picks up his phone and texts someone. 30 seconds later, the district curriculum director walks in. Dr. Banerjee is sharp-eyed and no nonsense. The kind of administrator who'd built her reputation on cleaning up messes before they became lawsuits. She nods at me and sits beside Holloway. Walk me through it, she says. I do. I show her the timestamps, the emails, the student work. I explain how Corinne had been covering my classes during my leave and had access to everything I'd built. And instead of simply teaching the curriculum, she'd rebranded it and submitted it for recognition as though she'd invented it herself. I show Dr. Banerjee the nomination portfolio Corinne had submitted, which I'd requested from the district office under teacher records access. It contains my lesson plans with her name attached and a narrative describing her innovative approach to integrating social justice themes, written as though the idea had originated with her. Dr. Banerjee reads in silence. When she finishes, she looks at Holloway. This is plagiarism. That's my assessment, he says. Do we have Corinne's side? Not yet. Dr. Banerjee stands. Get her in here, now. Holloway makes a call, and 10 minutes later, Corinne walks into the office looking confused. She sees me, and her expression tightens. What's going on? Dr. Banerjee gestures to the folder. We need to discuss the Teacher of the Year nomination, specifically the curriculum you submitted as your own work. Corinne glances at me, then back at Dr. Banerjee. I taught that curriculum. I implemented it with students. But you didn't create it, Dr. Banerjee says. I made adjustments. I refined the lessons to fit my teaching style. Show me the adjustments. Corinne hesitates. I don't have documentation of every change. Show me one meaningful change you made to the unit structure, the assignment sequence, or the learning objectives. Corinne's face flushes. I added scaffolding for struggling readers. I pull out another document, the differentiation protocols I'd included in the original unit. This scaffolding? She looks at the page and says nothing. Dr. Banerjee leans forward. Did you create this curriculum? I contributed to it. When? During the fall semester when I was teaching it. So after it was already created, piloted, and finalized. Dr. Banerjee taps the folder. These timestamps show the unit existed in full 2 years before you ever taught it. The emails show you were consulted for feedback, not collaboration. The student work proves it was operational before the leave. You taught someone else's curriculum and claimed credit for designing it. Corinne's voice rises. I was the one in the classroom making it work. I was the one leading discussions and grading essays and dealing with parents. She wasn't there because she was recovering from surgery, Dr. Banerjee says. And you used her absence to rebrand her work as yours. That's not what happened. Then explain the nomination portfolio. Why is there no mention of her anywhere in the materials you submitted? Corinne looks at me, her expression somewhere between anger and desperation. You're really doing this? You're going to ruin my career over a curriculum? You already did that yourself, I say. I'm just making sure people know whose work you stole. Dr. Banerjee stands. We'll need to review this further, but based on what I'm seeing, the nomination was submitted under false pretenses. You'll be notified of our decision by the end of next week. Corinne leaves without another word. Holloway watches her go, then turns to me. If this holds up, we'll have to revoke the award. It'll hold up, I say. He nods slowly. I'm sorry this happened. We should have verified the nomination more carefully. I stand and pick up my folder. You should have asked where the curriculum came from before you gave her a plaque for it. I walk out of the office and head to my classroom. First period starts in 20 minutes, and I have essays to return. But for the first time since I came back, I don't feel like I'm walking through someone else's hallways. The documentation is submitted. The truth is on record. And Corinne's carefully constructed lie is starting to collapse under the weight of timestamps she can't explain away. The district's decision arrives the following Tuesday in the form of a meeting invitation marked urgent. I'm sitting in the teacher's lounge when the email comes through, and I watch Corinne receive the same message 2 tables away. She reads it on her phone and her jaw tightens. She doesn't look at me. We're called in at 3:30 after the buses leave. Holloway's office feels smaller with 4 people in it. Dr. Banerjee sits beside him, a legal pad in front of her covered in notes. Corinne takes the chair farthest from me. I sit near the door. We've completed our review, Dr. Banerjee says. The evidence is conclusive. The curriculum submitted for the Teacher of the Year nomination was created by you, she nods at me, and appropriated by Ms. Wallace without attribution or acknowledgement. Corinne's face goes rigid. I taught it. I made it work in the classroom. Teaching existing material is not the same as authoring it, Dr. Banerjee says. The nomination required original curriculum design. You submitted work that was not yours and represented it as your own creation. That constitutes academic dishonesty. I never said I invented everything from scratch. Dr. Banerjee slides a printed copy of the nomination portfolio across the table. Your submission describes the unit as your innovative approach and your original framework for integrating social justice themes. There is no mention of prior development or collaboration. You signed a statement certifying that the work was yours. Corinne stares at the document. I didn't think it mattered. She wasn't here. She wasn't eligible for nomination. That doesn't give you the right to claim her intellectual property, Holloway says. Corinne turns to me. You could have said something before this became official. You could have told me you had a problem instead of going nuclear. I did say something, I tell her. At the ceremony, you said it would have been weird to bring me up because you weren't part of the implementation. I created every single lesson you taught, every discussion protocol, every assignment sequence. You didn't implement my curriculum. You performed it. There's a difference. Her voice sharpens. You weren't in the classroom dealing with kids who didn't understand the material. You weren't answering parent emails or adapting lessons on the fly. I did the work. You did my work, I say. And then you put your name on it and accepted an award. Dr. Banerjee cuts in. The district is revoking the Teacher of the Year title effective immediately. The award and associated grant will be reassigned. Ms. Wallace, you'll also be removed from AP Literature and reassigned to standard level classes for the remainder of the year. Corinne's face strains. You're punishing me for teaching teaching well. We're holding you accountable for misrepresenting your contributions, Dr. Banerjee says. If this were a published work, it would be plagiarism. In an educational context, it's a violation of professional ethics. This is insane. Corinne looks at Holloway. You're really going to destroy my career over this? You destroyed it yourself, he says quietly. We're just making the consequences official. Corinne stands. I want union representation. I'm not accepting this without a fight. That's your right, Dr. Banerjee says. But the evidence won't change. The timestamps, the emails, the student work, it all points to the same conclusion. Corinne walks out, the door slamming behind her. The sound echoes in the small office. Holloway exhales and rubs his temples. This is going to get ugly, he says. It already is, I say. Dr. Banerjee gathers her notes. The union will review the case, but I don't see them overturning this. The documentation is airtight. She'll likely file a grievance, but it won't go anywhere. What happens to the award, I ask? It's yours, Dr. Banerjee says. Technically, the nomination period has closed, but given the circumstances, the district will recognize you as the rightful recipient. The grant money will be redirected to your professional development account. I nod. It feels hollow, not because I don't want the recognition, but because the whole situation is so stupid it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Corinne had a chance to do the right thing at a dozen different points. She chose the lie every time. By Thursday, the news has spread. Teachers know, students know, parents know. The school board was notified in a closed session, and someone leaked it to the district email chain. I walk into the lounge and conversations stop. People glance at me, then look away. A few offer quiet nods. One teacher, someone I barely know from the math department, stops me in the hallway. I'm sorry that happened to you, she says. That's messed up. Thanks, I say. For what it's worth, everyone knows she didn't come up with that curriculum. We all thought it was weird she suddenly had this award-winning unit when she'd been teaching basic comp for years. I hadn't realized people were paying that much attention. It's oddly validating and deeply exhausting at the same time. Corinne avoids me. She takes a different route to her classroom and skips the lounge entirely. When we pass in the hallway, she looks straight ahead like I'm invisible. Her friends, the small circle of teachers she used to eat lunch with, are noticeably quieter around her. One of them, a science teacher named Monica, pulls me aside after school. I didn't know, Monica says. I swear. She told us she'd been working on that unit for months. She said you'd helped a little, but it was mostly hers. She lied, I say. I know. I feel like an idiot for believing her. You're not the idiot in this situation. Monica nods, but she still looks uncomfortable. She's not handling it well. She's talking about filing complaints, saying the district is targeting her. Let her file, I say. The evidence doesn't care about her feelings. The union rep shows up Friday morning. I'm in my classroom grading essays when he knocks. His name is Gene, a veteran English teacher from another high school who's been with the union for 20 years. He's polite but direct. I'm here to review the case, he says. Ms. Wallace requested representation, so I need to hear both sides. I hand him a flash drive. Everything's on here. Timestamps, emails, student work, revision histories. It's the same file I gave the district. Gene plugs it into his laptop and starts reading. He doesn't ask questions, just scrolls through documents with the practiced efficiency of someone who's seen 100 grievances. After 30 minutes, he closes the laptop and hands back the flash drive. This is pretty clear-cut, he says. I know. She's claiming the district didn't follow proper procedure in revoking the award. Says she wasn't given adequate opportunity to defend herself. She was in the meeting. She had every opportunity. Yeah, that's what the notes say. He stands. Look, I have to represent her because she's a member. But between you and me, this isn't going anywhere. The evidence is overwhelming. She took credit for your work and got caught. The union's not going to burn political capital defending that. So what happens next? She'll probably file a formal grievance. It'll get reviewed, denied, and that'll be the end of it. Unless she wants to take it to arbitration, which would be expensive and pointless. Would she do that? Gene shrugs. Depends how desperate she is. But I'd bet against it. Arbitrators don't like cases where the facts are this one-sided. He leaves, and I sit alone in my classroom. The afternoon light slants through the windows, and the building is quiet except for the hum of the heating system. I think about Corinne sitting in her new classroom, smaller, filled with students who struggle with basic reading comprehension, instead of the advanced kids who used to challenge her. I think about her standing at the board, teaching grammar instead of literature, knowing that everyone in the building understands why she's there. Part of me feels vindicated. Part of me just feels tired. I pack up my bag and head to the parking lot. Corinne's car is still there, parked in the far corner away from the main entrance. I don't see her, but I imagine her sitting inside, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out how everything fell apart so fast. The answer is simple. She got greedy. She saw an opportunity and took it, believing I'd be too sick or too polite to fight back. She miscalculated. And now every conversation she has, every introduction she makes, every job application she submits will carry the weight of what she did. I drive home and don't think about her again until Monday. Monday morning, I find the reporter's business card slipped under my classroom door. Rebecca Chen, education correspondent for the county's main paper. Her handwritten note says she'd like to talk about recognition and attribution in teaching. I pocket the card and don't respond yet. The union grievance arrives Wednesday. Corinne filed it officially, claiming the district violated her due process rights by revoking the award without a formal hearing. Gene was right. It's desperate. The document argues that teaching is collaborative by nature, and that distinguishing between curriculum design and classroom implementation creates an impossible standard. It never addresses the timestamps. It never explains why she signed a statement certifying original work. It just complains about procedure and fairness, as if those concepts exist in a vacuum separate from what she actually did. I forward the grievance to Rebecca Chen with a 2-sentence email. This might interest you. Happy to provide documentation if you're covering this story. She responds within an hour. Can we meet? We sit in a coffee shop 3 blocks from campus Thursday after school. Rebecca's younger than I expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a recorder she places on the table between us. She's already done her homework, pulled the original award announcement, contacted the district, requested public records. They're being cagey, she says. The official line is that the award was reassigned due to administrative review, but nobody will say why. I need someone to go on record. What do you want to know? Everything. Start from the beginning. I walk her through it. The surgery, the leave, sharing my curriculum with Corinne before I left. Coming back to find her accepting an award for work I'd created 2 years earlier. The school board meeting where she never mentioned my name. The evidence I compiled. The meeting with Holloway and Dr. Dr. Banerjee, the revocation. Rebecca takes notes even though the recorder is running. Do you have the documentation? I slide a flash drive across the table. Timestamped files, emails, student work samples, revision histories, everything that proves the curriculum existed long before she taught it. She plugs the drive into her laptop and scans through folders. Her expression shifts from neutral to focused. This is airtight. I know. Why did she think she could get away with it? Because I was sick. Because she thought I'd be too grateful for her help to question anything. Because teachers do this all the time. Borrow lessons, share resources, and the lines get blurry. Except this wasn't borrowing. This was erasure. Rebecca looks up from the screen. You're angry. I'm precise. There's a difference. She smiles slightly. The district's going to hate this story. The district made their choice when they tried to handle it quietly. If they wanted to avoid scrutiny, they should have handled it correctly from the start. What does correctly look like? Public acknowledgement, an explanation of what happened and why it was wrong. Not a quiet shuffle and a hope that nobody notices. Rebecca closes her laptop. I'll need to contact Ms. Wallace for comment. It's standard practice. She'll deny everything or claim it was a misunderstanding. Probably. But her denial will be in the same article as your evidence, so it won't matter much. We finish our coffee and she leaves with the flash drive and a promise to follow up. I drive home feeling something close to calm. Not satisfaction exactly, but the solid weight of a decision made and executed. Corinne wanted this to disappear into bureaucracy. I'm making sure it doesn't. The article runs Sunday morning, front page of the education section. The headline is blunt. Local teacher stripped of award after colleague proves plagiarism. Rebecca's reporting is thorough and fair, laying out the timeline with precision. She quotes the district's vague official statement, then contrasts it with the documentation I provided. Screenshots of file creation dates, excerpts from emails where I explicitly described the curriculum as mine, testimony from students who'd piloted the lessons in my class before Corinne ever touched them. Corinne's quoted near the end. Teaching is inherently collaborative, and I believed I was building on shared work. I regret any misunderstanding about attribution. It's a masterclass in evasion, acknowledging nothing while sounding vaguely apologetic. Rebecca's closing paragraph is the part that lands. The case raises questions about intellectual property in education, where curriculum is often shared informally, and credit can be ambiguous. But the documentation in this case leaves little room for ambiguity. The award-winning unit existed in full 2 years before Wallace taught it, and she made no effort to acknowledge its origins when accepting recognition for its innovation. My phone starts buzzing before I finish reading. Texts from other teachers. A few from former students who saw the article shared online. One from my sister saying, "Holy hell, you actually did it." I don't respond to most of them. I just sit on my couch with my coffee and read the article 3 times, making sure every fact is accurate, every quote is fair. It is. Monday morning feels different. I arrive early and the parking lot is already half full, unusual for a Monday. Inside, the hallways are quieter than normal, but the tension is obvious. Teachers cluster in small groups, phones out, voices low. A few glance at me as I pass. Nobody says anything directly, but the weight of awareness is everywhere. The lounge is nearly empty when I walk in. Monica's there, reading the article on her phone. She looks up when I enter. "Everyone's talking about it," she says. I figured. Some people think you should have kept it internal. Some people are wrong. She nods slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." She lied to all of us, not just the district. I pour coffee and sit across from her. How's she handling it? Haven't seen her yet. Her car's here, but she's not in the lounge. Corinne doesn't show up to the morning staff meeting. Holloway mentions recent developments in a single vague sentence, reminding everyone that personnel matters are confidential, and speculation is unhelpful. It's the kind of statement that acknowledges everything while saying nothing, and it fools no one. Teachers stare at their phones under the table, pulling up the article, texting each other reactions. I see Corinne for the first time third period, passing in the hallway between classes. She's walking fast, head down, arms wrapped around a stack of folders like armor. She doesn't look at me. A group of students watches her go by, whispering. One of them catches my eye and gives a small knowing nod. By lunch, the story's been shared on social media. A local education advocacy group retweets the article with commentary about systemic issues in teacher recognition. A few anonymous accounts, probably teachers from other districts, add their own stories of credit theft and curriculum appropriation. It's not going viral, but it's circulating in the specific corners of the internet where educators talk shop and air grievances. Gene, the union rep, stops by my classroom after school. He looks tired. The grievance is getting pulled, he says. She's withdrawing it. Why? Because her lawyer read the article and told her she'd lose. Because fighting this publicly makes it worse. Because the evidence is exactly what you said it was. And dragging it out just keeps her name attached to the word plagiarism. So it's over. Officially, yes. Practically, probably not. She's talking about transferring to another district. Good luck with that. Anyone who Googles her name now finds the story. Jean grimaces. Yeah, that's the part she didn't think through. The internet doesn't forget. I set the phone down and start grading. The essays are good. Thoughtful analyses of themes in their current novel. Evidence of real engagement with the text. This is the work that matters. Not the award, not the recognition, not even the vindication. Just the fact that students are learning to think critically about literature. Because I designed a curriculum that makes them care. Corinne's classroom is dark when I leave for the day. Her car is gone from the parking lot. I don't know if she'll be back tomorrow, or if she's already making calls to other districts, trying to find a school that hasn't heard what she did. Either way, she'll carry this with her. Every interview, every reference check, every casual conversation with new colleagues. Someone will Google her name eventually. Someone always does. I drive home as the sun sets behind the hills, turning the sky orange and pink. My phone buzzes again, but I ignore it. The story is out. The record is corrected. What happens next is consequence. And consequence doesn't need my supervision. Tuesday morning, I wake up to 17 new emails. Most are supportive messages from teachers I barely know. People from other schools in the district who read the article and wanted to say they'd experienced similar situations. 2 are from parents of students I taught 3 years ago, thanking me for standing up for what's right. 1 is from the district office, a meeting request from Dr. Banerjee for later this week. I answer the necessary ones and delete the rest. Support feels good, but it doesn't change what already happened. The work now is watching the consequences unfold and making sure they stick. At school, the shift is obvious. Teachers who used to chat with Corinne in the hallway now veer into classrooms when they see her coming. The copy room empties when she walks in. Nobody's being dramatic about it, just quietly rearranging their proximity. She's not being confronted. She's being erased, the same way she tried to erase me. I'm standing outside my classroom between periods when I see her coming down the hall. She slows when she spots me, clearly debating whether to turn around. She doesn't. She keeps walking, but her eyes stay on the floor. Can we talk? She asks when she's close enough. Sure. Not here, somewhere private. I consider it. Part of me wants to refuse on principle. Make her say whatever she needs to say in front of the entire hallway. But that's not strategic. That's just petty. My classroom. After last period. She nods and walks away without another word. The rest of the day crawls. My students are focused, working through their current unit on unreliable narrators. And the irony isn't lost on me. We discuss how authors use perspective to manipulate reader sympathy, how withholding information creates false impressions. One student asks if unreliable narrators ever convince themselves of their own lies. Sometimes, I tell her, that's when it gets dangerous. When the narrator believes their own revision of events, they stop seeing the harm they caused. After the final bell, I stay at my desk and wait. Corinne shows up 10 minutes later. She closes the door behind her but doesn't sit down. She stands near the back of the room like a student waiting for detention. I'm sorry, she says. I don't respond. I know that's not enough. I know I can't fix this. But I need you to know I didn't plan it. I didn't wake up one day and decide to steal your work. You just stole it accidentally. No, I mean... She stops, visibly frustrated with herself. When you went on leave, I was terrified. They handed me AP Lit and I'd never taught it before. You left all these plans and they were so good, and I just followed them. And then the students responded and parents were emailing compliments and Holloway told me I was doing great. So you decided to take credit. I didn't decide. It just happened. People started saying how innovative the curriculum was, and I didn't correct them because it felt good to be recognized for once. Do you know how long I've been teaching remedial sections? Do you know what it's like to be the teacher nobody notices? So this was about your ego. She flinches. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying, Corinne? That you deserve the award because you wanted it more? That my 2 years of work don't count because I wasn't there to defend them? I understand exactly how it happened. You saw an opportunity and you took it. You didn't think I'd come back strong enough to fight. You thought I'd be too grateful for your help, too tired from surgery to make waves. You gambled on my silence and you lost. Her face crumples. Tears start, but I don't look away. I never wanted to hurt you. You just wanted the award more than you wanted to be honest. Please. I'm losing everything. They're moving me to freshman general English. Parents are pulling their kids from my classes. Other teachers won't talk to me. Good. The word lands hard. She stares at me like I slapped her. You think I'm supposed to feel bad for you? I continue. You stood on a stage and accepted praise for my work while I sat in the audience. You gave a speech about creating brave spaces and didn't mention that every protocol came from someone else's design. You took $5,000 that should have been mine. And when I confronted you, you called it collaboration. So no, I don't care that you're uncomfortable now. You earned every bit of this. I'll transfer. I'll leave the district. Just tell me what you want. I want you to stop pretending you're the victim here. You're not losing everything because of me. You're losing everything because you committed plagiarism and got caught. Those are consequences, not punishments. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I thought we were friends. We were, until you decided my curriculum was worth more than my trust. She stands there for another moment, then turns and leaves without saying anything else. The door closes softly behind her. I sit at my desk and finish entering grades, feeling nothing except tired. Wednesday morning brings the next wave. An email goes out to all AP Lit students and their parents, informing them that, due to staffing adjustments, sections will be reassigned effective immediately. Corinne's students are being distributed among 3 other teachers, including me. I'm getting 12 of them, which brings my total class size to 31. Not ideal, but manageable. The students show up Thursday, confused and buzzing with gossip. Most of them have already read the article or heard some version of the story from friends. A girl named Ashley raises her hand before I even finish taking attendance. Is it true Ms. Wallace stole your curriculum? That's not a discussion we're having in class. But everyone's talking about it. Then everyone can talk about it outside of class. In here, we're talking about literature. They settle down, but the energy stays tense. These kids were taught using my lessons by someone else, and now they're trying to figure out what that means. I don't give them time to spiral. I dive straight into the current unit, picking up where Corinne left off, and within 15 minutes, they're engaged enough to forget the drama. During planning period, Monica stops by. You heard about the grant? What about it? District redirected it to you. $5,000 for professional development, effective immediately. Holloway announced it in the admin meeting this morning. I lean back in my chair. Good. There's more. The union's issuing a statement. Jean wanted you to see it before it goes public. She hands me her phone. The statement is brief and direct. The teachers union commends my documentation and supports authorship integrity in curriculum development. It calls for clearer district policies around intellectual property and credit attribution. It never mentions Corinne by name, but everyone will know exactly what it's about. Jean's smart, I say, handing the phone back. This makes it a systemic issue, not just personal drama. He said you gave him the idea. Something about policies needing to catch up with practice. I might have mentioned it. Monica grins. You're terrifying when you're methodical. I'm effective. The union statement goes public Friday afternoon. It gets picked up by a few education blogs and a statewide Teachers Association newsletter. The framing shifts slightly. Now it's not just about one teacher stealing credit. It's about how schools failed to protect intellectual work. Other teachers start sharing their own stories in the comments. A woman in another district describes spending a summer developing a project-based science unit, only to watch a colleague present it at a conference without attribution. A high school English teacher talks about a department chair who published her entire semester plan in a curriculum guide under his own name. The pattern becomes visible. This isn't rare. It's just usually invisible. By the following Monday, the district responds. Dr. Banerjee sends an all-staff email announcing a new policy on curriculum attribution and intellectual property. Any teacher submitting work for awards, publication, or professional recognition must now include a signed statement disclosing collaborators and source materials. The policy includes penalties for misrepresentation, up to and including termination. It's bureaucratic and it's overdue, but it's something. I forward the the email to Rebecca Chen with a note. Progress, I guess. She replies with a follow-up question. Would you be willing to be quoted in a piece about the policy change? I think about it for maybe 10 seconds. Yes. The second article runs the following Sunday. This one's shorter, focused on the district's response and the broader implications. Rebecca quotes me saying that policies matter less than enforcement, that the real test will be whether schools take authorship seriously or treat it as a box to check. She also quotes Holloway, who gives a bland statement about the district's commitment to integrity and professionalism. Corinne isn't mentioned by name this time, but she doesn't need to be. She's already the example everyone's thinking about. I don't see her much after that. Her schedule keeps her on the opposite side of campus, and she stops coming to staff meetings. Rumor is she's interviewing at schools in neighboring districts, trying to find a position where her name hasn't been circulated yet. I hear she's telling people she's looking for a fresh start and a better cultural fit. Jean mentions she's probably going to resign before the district pushes her out. Easier to control the narrative if she leaves voluntarily, he says. She can spin it as wanting new challenges instead of getting reassigned to the worst sections as punishment. Let her spin it however she wants. Anyone who checks references will hear the truth. You really think Holloway's going to tell the truth in a reference call? I think Holloway's going to be very careful about what he says, which is its own kind of truth. And I think anyone who Googles her name is going to find the articles, which tell the whole story. Jean shakes his head, half impressed and half wary. You don't forgive much, do you? I forgive accidents. This wasn't an accident. The grant money hits my account mid-month. $5,000 earmarked for professional development. I use part of it to attend a summer curriculum institute I've had my eye on for 2 years. The rest goes toward classroom resources. New novels for the lending library, a set of discussion guides, materials for a unit on narrative ethics I've been planning. The students from Corinne's old sections settle in. A few of them ask questions at first, trying to figure out if I'm going to teach differently now that I'm back. I tell them the curriculum hasn't changed because it was always mine. They nod and stop asking. One afternoon, a senior named Marcus stays after class. He was in Corinne's section, one of the students whose work was included in her award portfolio. I wanted to say something. He starts, awkward and sincere. We didn't know. About the curriculum, I mean. Ms. Wallace never told us it was yours. I know you didn't. Some of us feel weird about it. Like we were part of the problem. You weren't. You were students doing good work. That doesn't change just because she lied about where the assignments came from. He shifts his weight, clearly relieved. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew we weren't trying to help her steal anything. I know, Marcus. And your essay on unreliable narrators was excellent, by the way. That analysis deserved recognition regardless of who was teaching the class. Thursday after school, I'm packing up my bag when I glance out the window and see Corinne loading boxes into her car. It's not dramatic, just a few file boxes and a crate of books. She moves quickly like she doesn't want to be seen. I watch for a moment, then turn back to my desk. Someone knocks on the doorframe. Monica. She's leaving, Monica says, nodding toward the window. I saw. Official resignation effective end of the month. She's taking a position at a private school 2 counties over. Good for her. Monica studies me. You really don't care, do you? I care that the record is correct. I care that she can't do this to someone else here. Where she goes next is her problem. The private school probably doesn't know. Then they'll find out, or they won't. Either way, it's not my job to follow her around warning people. The articles exist. The documentation exists. She'll have to live with that. Monica nods slowly. You know people are going to remember this for a long time. Not just her, you. I'm fine with that. You sure? Because you're going to be the teacher who burned down a colleague's career. I'm the teacher who documented plagiarism and refused to stay quiet. If that burned down her career, she's the one who lit the match. Monica leaves and I finish packing. Outside, Corinne's car pulls out of the parking lot. I don't watch her go. I just lock my classroom and head home, already thinking about tomorrow's lesson plan. 3 months later, I'm standing at the front of my classroom watching a new group of juniors argue about moral ambiguity in The Great Gatsby. They're debating whether Nick Carraway is complicit in the tragedy or just a passive observer, their voices overlapping with the kind of energy that only comes when students actually care about the answer. This is the unit, the one Corinne accepted an award for, the one that's always been mine. A student named Brielle raises her hand. But if Nick knows Gatsby's lying to everyone and doesn't say anything, isn't that the same as lying himself? That's the question, I tell her. Complicity versus observation. When does watching become participating? The discussion spirals from there, exactly the way I designed it to. These kids have no idea about the plagiarism or the articles or any of it. They just know this curriculum makes them think differently about books they thought they understood. During lunch, I check my email out of habit. There's a message from a teacher in another district asking if I'd be willing to share my social justice literature unit for her AP class. She includes a link to the article, says she wants to make sure she credits me properly. I send her the files with attribution instructions included. The bell rings and students flood back in. I close my laptop and pick up my copy of Gatsby, the margins full of notes I've been adding for 3 years. Outside my classroom window, the parking lot is full of cars that weren't there this morning. Corinne's isn't one of them. She resigned 5 weeks ago. Someone mentioned she's teaching at a private academy now. Somewhere her name doesn't pull up search results in the staff lounge. I don't think about her much anymore. The work continues without her, the way it always would have. My curriculum, my classroom, my name on everything that matters. The record is clean now. That's enough.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.